There is a thought in you, a silent current, that if harnessed will pull reality into alignment with your deepest desire. It begins quietly, a flash in your mind's eye, and then becomes law. But only if you think like this, not wish, not hope, but decide with unwavering conviction that you will bend the world to your vision. Most people go through life thinking they react to circumstances. Winners understand they create them. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he waited for inspiration. He conceived possibility and acted on it relentlessly. Henry Ford didn't wait for approval to build cars for every man. He built them because he believed in mobility as a right. These men moved reality not by luck, but by thought. The deliberate engineering of belief first, visible impact second, but most minds are not architects, they're spectators. They absorb culture, fear, doubt, and feed it with silence. They dream small. They obey the version of life others dictated. And as a result, the invisible currents of mass thought bend around them, not through them. You don't want that. You want to swim through currents that bend. You want to shape what's coming. To do that, you must train your mind to think like an emperor, unwavering, unconquerable, unshakable in belief. First, mindset. Your dominant thoughts are the soil where your destiny grows. If fear, hesitation, and scarcity dominate that soil, your harvest will reflect the weed. But if abundance, purpose, and clarity take root, your harvest becomes empire. You must intentionally sow thought seeds that match your vision, even in silence, in doubt, in the face of chaos. Second, belief, not flashy motivation, but humble conviction. Napoleon Hill taught that belief is the foundation of achievement. Belief is experiencing your mind's promise before the world confirms it. It's expecting success as inevitable. It's living in the vibration of your dream until your dream has no choice but to show up. You will think differently. You will act differently. You will no longer react. You will create. Third, clarity and vision. Winners don't just set goals, they frame realities. They see their purpose so clearly that every tiny detail around them begins rearranging itself. Relationships shift toward alignment. Opportunities show up unannounced. Resources flow toward where vision meets obsession. But clarity is forged through discipline, daily journaling, reviewing vision, meditating on purpose, not by daydreaming. Vision without clarity is mirage. Clarity without action is fantasy. Together they become unstoppable. Fourth, purpose and identity. Your identity must align with your purpose. You cannot think like a winner if you still believe you're ordinary. Your identity must say, I am the maker of outcomes. I am the builder of destiny. I don't wait, I move. Every thought, every word, every moment must tell the same story. I am the one who makes it work. Only then will the world shift, because mastery begins when the mind becomes unshakable. Fifth, discipline and ritual. Thinking like this demands daily practice. Winners don't rely on feels, they rely on routines. They wake early. They read the masters. They train their mind in silence before the noise arrives. They build rituals, journaling at dawn, reviewing goals midday, closing the day with gratitude. These aren't nice-to-have habits. They're the training grounds where your mind becomes sharp enough to bend reality. Sixth, action and momentum. Clarity without movement is stall. Vision without acceleration is fog. Every thought must be matched by action, or the thought becomes impotent. Napoleon Hill said that action is the greatest alchemist. Thought plus action transmutes to reality. Doubt will attack. Fear will whisper. But movement breaks the grip of those forces. When you act, momentum forms, and then the invisible law of force to motion takes over. Thought becomes momentum. Momentum becomes outcome. Seventh, gratitude and resonance. A mind that bends the world is not entitled. It's grateful. Every milestone, every obstacle, every failure, every breakthrough, grateful. because gratitude elevates your frequency. It aligns your energy with abundance. It says, even when I don't understand, I appreciate the lessons. That vibration attracts not just results, but allies, opportunities, even miracles. Eighth, adaptability and resilience. If reality resists, winners adjust, not retreat. Thought is powerful, but thought without adaptation becomes rigid. You think in absolutes of purpose, but variable in method. When obstacles arise, like Ford rebuilding, like Lincoln pivoting, like Disney shifting animated short to full studio, you don't crumble, you adapt. You become flexible in execution, unbreakable in faith. Ninth, learning and growth. Winners are relentless students. They devour books, dissect failures, speak to mentors, dissect systems. They understand your mind must evolve faster than the world moves. You are not behind, you are not late, you are right on time. The moment you decide to stop hiding behind fear, you've spent too long negotiating with mediocrity. And every time you try to balance ambition with comfort, you dilute both. Let me be clear. You don't kill the weak version of yourself by being nice to it. You kill it by outgrowing it. You starve it of your attention, your energy, your participation. You stop indulging the thoughts that say, I'm not ready, I'm too tired, maybe tomorrow. And you replace them with a roar, I move now. Because movement is the weapon. Action is the cure. Progress is the scalpel that cuts the old you out of your skin. You cannot wait until you feel strong to start. That's the trap. Strength is earned in motion. Courage is built on the battlefield, not in the comfort of theory. Every time you delay, you're not just wasting time. You are strengthening the grip of the man you say you want to kill. You're letting him grow, letting him whisper, letting him lead. You say you want to be great, but are you willing to bleed for it? Are you willing to be misunderstood, mocked, ignored, even hated? Because the weak version of you needs approval. He craves validation. He fears isolation, discomfort, failure. But the real you, the one buried underneath, he doesn't need the crowd. He doesn't need permission. He only needs clarity. And once he sees the path, he doesn't hesitate. That's the mindset of warriors, of builders, of legends. Think of Carnegie, who grew up in poverty, working in a cotton factory at the age of 13, and still went on to dominate steel and industry because he believed something greater was possible and refused to live as a product of his surroundings. Think of Theodore Roosevelt, sickly and weak as a child, who transformed his body through relentless training, built his mind through rigorous reading, and rose to lead a nation. None of these men waited to feel ready. They killed the version of themselves that didn't belong on the throne. They trained a different voice to lead, and that's what you must do. Every day you speak to yourself in words no one hears but you, and those words are building your identity. You say, I'm tired, and you train weakness. You say, I don't feel like it, and you teach your body that emotion controls action. But you say, I go anyway, and you become a different beast entirely, because the man who moves without motivation is the man who can't be stopped. He doesn't need hype. He doesn't need a cheerleader. He is the fire. You can feel it right now, can't you? That voice deep in your chest that says, this isn't who I really am. It's not anger, it's awakening. It's not frustration, it's fire. The weak version of you is suffocating under the pressure of the truth. And the truth is this: you were built for more discipline, more focus, more power, more leadership, more excellence. You don't need a better plan. You need a stronger decision. One decision to cut off the option of going back. Burn the bridge, burn the boat, burn the comfort. You won't need it where you're going. You're stepping into the version of you that chooses pain when it builds strength, that chooses isolation when it builds focus, that chooses pressure when it reveals greatness. You will kill that weak version of yourself, not with hatred, but with honor, because he served his purpose. He showed you what you're not, and now you rise. The man you were born to be is buried beneath layers of habit, not genetics, not circumstances, habit. And every habit you indulge either sharpens your future or shackles it. When you check your phone instead of checking your purpose, when you scroll instead of study, when you waste time with people who drain you instead of train you, you are training the weaker version of you to win. You're building his house, you're filling his lungs, you're putting food on his table. And then you wonder why he's so strong. But what happens when you start starving him? What happens when you flip the pattern? You begin each day in silence, not noise. You fill your mind with vision, not distraction. You write your plans instead of reacting to everyone else's. You show up whether you feel like it or not. That's when the war starts. And make no mistake, it is a war. A war between the man you are and the man you could be. Between the version of you that hesitates and the version that hunts, between the one that craves comfort and the one that was built for conquest. This war won't be won in a single day, but it must be fought every day. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most." Understand that. Tattoo that on your soul. Every time you reach for the easy path, the old you wins. But when you choose the hard road, the early wake up, the extra rep, the tough conversation, the focused hour, the final push, you're planting the flag of your future self, because nothing about greatness is convenient. Edison failed 10,000 times to invent the light bulb, not because he loved failure, but because he knew who he was becoming. Disney was fired for lacking imagination before he created a world that would outlive generations. Henry Ford went broke 5 times before he changed the world of transportation. You know what they all had in common? They killed the part of themselves that feared rejection. They murdered the voices that said, "Be realistic." They butchered the weak version before it could bury the genius. And that's exactly what you must do. You don't wait for life to hand you clarity. You demand it from yourself. You don't pray for discipline. You build it with repetition. You don't hope for confidence. You create it by showing up even when you're scared. You kill that weak version by refusing to feed it. Every minute spent doubting, every hour wasted overthinking, every excuse entertained, it all strengthens the enemy within. But every second of focused action, every morning you rise early with fire, every commitment you keep even when no one's watching, that's how you take his power away. The weak version of you is not immortal. He doesn't survive the furnace. He doesn't last in the fight. He doesn't win when you choose discipline over delay. He dies, screaming, every time you rise above your excuses and remind the world, "I am not that man anymore." Let the world question you. Let your friends think you've changed. Let them say, "You're too intense." Good. You were born to be intense. You were born to be unapologetically focused, relentlessly committed, ferociously alive. That weak version of you, he was never meant to survive. He was just the first draft. You are here to write the masterpiece. The moment you decide, truly decide, to kill that version, everything changes, not instantly, not magically, but fundamentally. Because when you burn the bridge back to who you used to be, there is no escape hatch, no soft landing, only forward, only fire. And that fire, that's what forges the real you. Listen carefully. You are not born disciplined. You're not born confident. No one exits the womb with courage tattooed on their heart. These are forged qualities, beaten into shape on the anvil of resistance. Every morning you wake up and drag your body out of bed when you don't feel like it. You swing the hammer. Every time you open your mouth and speak your truth instead of biting your tongue for comfort, you swing the hammer. Every time you show up with purpose when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when no one's paying, you swing the damn hammer. And eventually that soft, fearful version of you, he stops fighting back. He starves, he shrinks, he dies, but only if you keep swinging. Napoleon Hill said it like this: deliberately seek the company of people who influence you to think and act on building the life you desire. Not the ones who pity your problems, not the ones who tolerate your excuses, the ones who make you ashamed to play small, the ones who demand the strongest version of you to show up every time. If you don't have those people in your life, become one of them. Become so disciplined, so driven, so focused that your very existence becomes a standard others feel obligated to rise to. You see, this is not about motivation. Motivation comes and goes like the weather. What we're talking about here is identity, and identity is built through consistency. You think winners wait to feel like it? No. Winners act and let the feelings follow, because they understand that action doesn't just change circumstances, it rewires belief. If you act like a man on a mission long enough, you become one. And a man on a mission doesn't have time to flirt with the weaker version of himself. He doesn't entertain thoughts of quitting. He doesn't keep company with cowardice. He wakes up with a fire in his chest and a vow in his soul: I will not die like this. I will not leave this world full of potential. I was too lazy, too distracted, too afraid to use. You want freedom? Start with discipline. You want confidence? Keep promises to yourself. You want clarity? Strip away everything that isn't aligned with your purpose. The weak version of you thrives in confusion. He thrives in excuses. He thrives in comfort. Kill his oxygen. Take away his shelter. Stop feeding him with thoughts like, I'm not ready, or what if I fail? You don't rise by avoiding failure. You rise by outlasting it. Let it come. Let it beat on your door like a storm, but you stand in the middle of that storm with a spine of steel and say, I will not bend. I will not bow. I was not made to retreat. This isn't just about becoming better. This is about becoming brutal with yourself. The kind of brutal that says, I don't care what I feel like. I care what I said I'd do. Because every day you act out of discipline instead of emotion, that weak version of you dies another death. And every day you show up stronger, even 1% stronger. You sharpen the weapon that will carve your future. You are not soft clay waiting to be molded. You are the sculptor, the hammer, the chisel, and the masterpiece. But only if you kill the version of you that keeps pretending otherwise. Think like this, and soon you will no longer wonder if it's working. You'll feel it. In the quiet moments before the world stirs, you'll sense your power, the heaviness of doubt, lighter, the fog of confusion, clearing, the friction in your soul, gone, because you will have stepped into alignment, not with chance, but with choice, with truth. And when the mind is aligned with truth, the universe must obey. There is a reason men like Carnegie could come from nothing and leave legacies that changed history. It wasn't privilege, it wasn't luck. It was vision married to action, faith wedded to persistence. They didn't ask life to be easier. They demanded themselves to be greater. And so the world had no choice but to rise in kind. This is the hidden code of the successful, the inner shift that precedes the outer. Long before the money, the awards, the applause, there was mindset, discipline, vision, thought. Every external victory is the receipt for internal mastery. The world does not move for the hesitant. It does not stop for the confused, but it rushes to meet the one who walks with fire in their chest and steel in their focus. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't hope. You don't wait. You move. You move as if it's already happening, because that belief will pull the result into view. You walk like someone who expects doors to open. You speak like someone who knows the outcome is already yours. You live as if the ink of your story has already been written, and all that's left is to read it line by line, day by day, with courage. And when resistance shows up, because it will, you remember, the world isn't pushing back to hurt you, it's testing your readiness. Are you serious? Are you committed? Are you truly the one? Most will fold. Most will interpret struggle as a sign to stop. But those who bend the world, they interpret struggle as confirmation. Confirmation that they are close. Confirmation that the old version of them is dying and the new one is being forged. There is always a version of you trying to rise and a version of you trying to survive. One is shaped by purpose, the other by fear. One is stretching, the other clinging. One is stepping into fire, the other hiding in comfort. The world bends not to the fearful, but to the forged. And forging hurts. It breaks your habits. It burns your excuses. It isolates you. It demands your obedience, your obsession, your willingness to do the things no one sees, so that later they ask how you did it. It's early mornings with no applause, long nights with no validation. It's showing up when your mood is quiet, your mind is noisy, and your results haven't caught up yet. But that's the secret. The bending doesn't happen after the success. It begins now, in the shadows, in the silence, when no one's watching. Because that's when you are watching. That's when your future self is forming. That's when the invisible begins to turn physical. That's when the current shifts. You will not think like the rest. You will not hope the world notices. You will command it, not through arrogance, but through alignment. Because when your actions, your thoughts, your words, your energy, your discipline all match your vision, then reality has no choice but to conform. The world bends not from force, but from frequency. So every morning you wake up, ask yourself, am I thinking like the version of me who already won? Because if the answer is yes, then it's done. The rest is momentum, the rest is detail, the rest is timing, and the timing belongs to the universe, but the decision belongs to you. You think like this, and the world has to bend.